In love and light, I greet you, beloved Starwalkers. Welcome to this pick a card reading. I invite you to choose a stone that you resonate with. Check in with your heart, your intuition, your first choice, if that resonates. And my role is to serve as a mirror, a channel to share any messages that come from the light, the Akash, the quantum field. And your role is to use your own inner discernment to really pay attention to the messages that most resonate with you. This is a general reading, so it's really important that you listen to your own intuitive voice, your own wisdom. Check out this week's spread. Pause this video if you need more time. A general theme for all three stones is the moon card. So this reading is focused on how we can meet our own needs for our spiritual evolution. And you see that there's a lobster, a crustacean, a water-dwelling creature coming out of the waters through the pull of the rhythms of, and you have the wolf evolving to a dog. So this reading is a message about your meeting your own needs, meeting your own evolution, and integrating with the cycles of time, which is a huge lesson for us collectively. How can we integrate ourselves through the rhythms of time, the seasons, changes, natural changes, instead of trying to control or feeling that we're separate, we're outside of nature? And what's really interesting is that shuffling the cards and preparing for this reading, this card jumped out twice. So this is a very special message. The probability of that is close to 0.01%. So how can you nourish yourself? Listen to your needs. Give yourself space to see how your needs have changed through your own personal evolution. All right, so check out the timestamps below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that this message, if you find it helpful, can be spread to others in the ethers. Check out the timestamps below and see you soon. For those listeners that chose the Opal, the Ace of Pentacles, the Five of Wands reversed, and the Ten of Pentacles are in your reading. We're heavy on the Pentacles, and I see a lot of abundance coming your way, if not already. There has been a seed, there's a hand appearing from the air, and some sort of blessing, some sort of gift related to your material possessions. And it could be a seed for a business, doesn't have to be related to finances, financial energy necessarily, but any sort of blessing gift that's related to the material world. It can be an apartment or a job opportunity, anything that has to do with the earthly realm. And I see that this seed is sown in your consciousness and also your physical environment. And through time and patience and faith, that seed will develop into the Ten of Pentacles. Zephyr Yetzirah appears in my mind, where you have the ace, the one, divine force, pure spirit, light coming into darkness, the beginning phase of undifferentiation, emanating to become differentiated in the Ten of Pentacles. And the tens, this card represents legacy. There is a beautiful family here, and you see that the old man has his hand on the dog, and a child has his hand on the tail of the dog. So this is a message of legacy. In your spiritual evolution, you might be turning away from the material world and entering a more spiritual environment. So there's a great boon coming your way. And with the Lust card, also a very earth-oriented card, passionate. And you see that once this figure, the reigns over the lion and the many-headed beast of our appetites at times, once you see your appetites for what they are, one, that they're transitory. Nothing lasts in this realm, your appetites especially. Even feeling, that's different from intuition. Feeling or reaction stored in your body, usually related to your past. So once you have control of these drives, and this isn't control as in suppression or rigidness, but once you are the master of your own appetites, you get a deeper passion. You get in tune with the deeper life-giving force that the earth, the natural world, provides us. And you can have true creative power once you have your passions, have your appetites. You are the master of those creative forces. Because don't forget, the appetites and the drives, they're not bad. They're part of who we are. But as human beings, we can transcend our animal nature through integration, through acceptance, through accepting that we belong in this phenomenal world and we have needs. And sometimes when you're in the weeds of the material world, and maybe in the beginning you have this drive to make money purely for gain or purely for your own good. And now you may be expanding out to others, whether that's an actual family, our collective family, tribally, nationally, through events going on as a human species. And I think you're seeing the world upside down. You see it for what it is. So in the Five of Wands reverse, you see these young figures. I see you going through a type of maturity. And it looks like a fight, but it's actually a play. They're play fighting with these wands, these wooden swords. So inviting you to not take life so seriously. And that in this journey of taking boons, gift from the universe, inheritance, a cosmic seed of growth and abundance taking place in your consciousness. And we never know what those things are. Let yourself be surprised by what bears fruit from this boon, this gift, this inspiration. Although I'm getting it from a very earthly, material nature. And in this journey, have faith. The Wands reverse, there's a couple cards that really point to having faith, and in the interplay of your drives, your motivations, or even this world, seeing the news. There's a lot of fear-mongering going on right now. The power that be sometimes keeps people in fear mode so that we're more easily controlled. And if you're able to have discernment and step back and see that it's actually a drama, Or you might be in a relationship struggle, and if you were able to just take a breath and see the situation for what it is. There's a type of illusory nature, and you're waking up that, oh, sort of like I'm getting a sense for some of you that there's going to be some relief that what added to the dullness, the seriousness, the depression, the anxiety is your perceptions. And when you laugh inside, when you're joyful, the outer world becomes more joyful because your perception is reality. And that's the greatest choice that human beings have, is our choice of perception. And your higher self, what message needs to be shared with you? Unbound. And you're in the stage of your journey where you are really releasing old trauma, old ancestral trauma, personal limitations, concepts, ego identity that no longer serves you. And I'm just going to read this Unbound, Releasing Soul Patterns, Contracts, and Past Lives from Work Your Light Oracle card deck by Rebecca Campbell. I love this deck and I love the colors, very uplifting. And I have a connection with the Pleiadians and other star mothers. And this deck really resonates with me. So where are you? Just take a moment to breathe. And this is an oracle card to share any messages on your journey moving forward. It is a time to release old soul stories that have been playing out in your life. They're coming up to be healed. There has never been a safer time to clear these patterns than right now. Take a look at patterns in your life that you are ready to release. Ancient vows and contracts that your soul made that have an expiry date. It could be a vow of silence or chastity or poverty. It is time to unwind from them. This is a life in which you free yourself from trauma of past lives. What old ways of being have an expiration date? When you name them, you claim them, and they stop holding power over you. When acknowledging these old patterns, it is also important to acknowledge how they have served you up until now. For example, a soul pattern of playing small caused by a soul fear of being seen or sharing your voice would have served you by keeping you safe. In order to grow, you now need to soften by receiving and calling in support. It is time to unbind from the old ways of being that are no longer sustainable. Don't forget to celebrate. When you see yourself loosening from the chains of concepts from the past, from an identity that no longer is you. And this can go to relationships as well. If you're in any sort of relationship where you know in your heart that this is done, the fruit of what you've sown, it's ready to fall off. And sometimes that happens naturally, and other times you have to say to yourself, use the sacred power of your own voice, your affirmation, to say, my relationship with this person, sometimes a toxic relationship, codependent relationship, is over. I release that now. I cut the cord of connection. between our souls so that we can continue our lesson and our own journeying towards the light, back into the light. So, I hope this reading was helpful to you, in love and light. Blessings, and I'll see you next time. Be well. Welcome for those who resonated with the rose quartz. So, the rose quartz is a stone of gentleness and self-compassion. So, this reading is really about setting the tone, really being aware of how you speak to yourself on your journey as you navigate the fluctuations, the ups and downs of your own life and the collective realm. You have the Ace of Cups, the Page of Swords, and the Hermit. So right now, your current energy, you're either in a very introspective mood, and I hear Brother Crow calling, really letting go of things in your life and bringing up this lamp to really illuminate what is alive, what's real for you. And by real, I mean something, I feel the world around you, the things that once served you or gave you fulfillment, nourishment, satiation is no longer sustaining you. We have the Ten of Cups reverse, satiety, and the Two of Pentacles change. And for your reading, 2 Thoth cards popped out of the deck. And some of you might be really going through the ups and downs. A lot is going on with the pandemic, climate change, a lot of things going on collectively. And if you're glued to the news or completely identified with these issues and really in fear, be really mindful of that. Take a moment to unplug, hermit, get silent. And perhaps the things that you once used to cope with the discomfort, feeling like you have no control or dealing with anything that you've been going through in your life, they're not hitting the spot anymore. Like the Weeknd says, after a while, all this drug feels like decaf. And when those coping mechanisms no longer serve us, we're left alone with our thoughts. And that can be really frightening. But the Ace of Cups, when we keep things in the shadow, they strengthen. So at times it's so important to get quiet. And if you're unable to take an extended retreat, Vipassana, things are going on with COVID, whatever modality resonates with you, all paths lead to Rome with a pure, dedicated spiritual sense. Or it can be more integrated. How can you allot time in the morning or evening to really get present? Get more into being instead of doing. And I think you're seeing that all the doing and checklists and things of this world, former relationships, having sex with random people coming to my mind, it's just no longer serving you, and it's a drain of energy. So really get into being. And the Cups card, there may be an overflowing of emotion. You need to process trauma or process suppressed emotions that you just didn't give space for, or you weren't ready to look at because you were in survival mode. And now you're ready. And it's going to be a gift and a blessing. And when we process our emotions, it's also a pathway to getting in touch with our intuition, our subconscious, our artistic nature. When you get in touch with the emotion, you know what you're attracted to, what you're not. So your values, your alignment gets stronger. So this isn't all about, oh, get in touch with your feelings. Those feelings have incredible, valuable data points to help serve as a compass in your life. The heart knows what the mind can never understand. Pascal. So use the Hermit card, the space beingness, to get in tune with your innermost feelings. Give yourself space to process. And sometimes you feel ashamed to cry. And if any of you are grieving right now, really give yourself that spaciousness. Let yourself overflow. And the Ace of Cups can, on the flip side, represent compassion, deep, deep compassion for yourself. How can you channel a nurturing grandmother, maternal, very loving, gentle energy? How can you bring that into your life? Or rose quartz energy, this beautiful, soft energy of a stone. And if you ever need comfort, especially with self-compassion, that's something I try to cultivate in my own life, and it's a challenge at times. Oftentimes we really beat ourselves up. We've internalized a critical voice from our childhood, from the past traumatic event. And if you're not careful, you end up repeating, projecting these emotions. These suppressed feelings they drive you. I'll give an example. With the Asian hate crimes, with personal trauma that happened to me bodily, I've had a fear of going out and going out at night at times. But I've noticed that past trauma and has really been preventing me from doing things, going out. I'm like, am I going to be isolated in my space, or am I going to go out? So after giving myself space, I dedicated a whole month of doing nothing, going to the beach here. And I knew that I needed to give myself space to process all the craziness of the pandemic. And I noticed that when I relax, these energies will arise out of me bodily. It's like they have a nature force of their own. And after really talking through an event with a friend, I realized why I felt so afraid. And I had a good cry, and I noticed, and I slept for 6 hours, and I noticed that the next day I wanted to go out, and I wanted to go out and see the stars. It's been something I've been wanting to do for about 3 weeks now. And, being in the South, being Asian, I've been really afraid to go out with the Asian hate crimes. But from my interactions with people, everyone has been so friendly, so wonderful. And the culture of the Latinx community is just like, they're just so warm, open, and just so nice. Yeah, very communal. And it's a beautiful energy to be around. It's been very healing for me. So give yourself space to rest in being, to identify with the light of awareness instead of the interplay, the duality, the ever-changing motion of the world. Are you identified with this, or are you identified with this? And once you identify with this, the Hermit, Page of Sword. And the Page of Swords, it's like you have a breath of fresh air coming into your life. Whew, refreshed. And the sword suit has to do with your mental thought process. So through processing emotions, through giving yourself space to do that, you'll step into a new stage of evolution, a new thought process, a new way of thinking about a situation, a relationship, or yourself. And if you're feeling very reactive, sometimes we compulsively do things. Give yourself space to be hermit. Give yourself room to process and evolve. And watch out for getting caught up with coping mechanisms. And this can be physically or negative thought patterns too. And be careful with negativity. That's why we have the rose quartz. Where are you, beloved? Because negative thought patterns bring upon dis-ease, disease. And in this time, we really need our strength, energy, spirit, and immunity up. And leap. Here's the oracle card to guide you. Sometimes we react, cope, work out, do things, follow our compulsions because it's more, we feel safer doing things that are toxic to us, hurtful to us, unhealthy, rather than change. And sometimes that's due to fear. But once you give yourself this time, hermit energy, get into your heart energy, Ace of Cups. And not only does the heart or emotions have data, information for us, it gives us great courage because courage comes from the French root cœur. And when we're driven from the heart, that's a power. That's an energy that's very different from your intellectual drive or your will. It's like the life force of your being. So entering into the chambers of your inner heart, it's like an initiation. You have to overcome fear, process trauma in the body. And through the portal of your feeling, you get to your own inner altar. And once you take that leap, that initiatory journey into your own heart, you're able to take a leap into in outer worlds as a reflection of your inner world. As above, so below. And whatever is inside in your heart, inside in your mind, how you speak to yourself, that will manifest outwardly. Even notice the tone of your voice when you speak to yourself. How can you be gentle, compassionate as you bravely enter, process emotions? Leap. Life bends for the courageous. The universe wants to support you, but first you need to leap, to throw your life up in the air. Perhaps you know what you are being called to leap toward or away from, but are scared to make the move. Or maybe perhaps you're waiting for a big fat sign or instruction manual or permission to do so first. If this is so, then this card is your sign and permission to slip, to take a deep breath and leap into the unknown. It's scary to let go of all that we know and hope for something new. And it's normal to feel anxious at the thought of letting go of what we know for sure. But this is the unavoidable process of rising. And right now, this is how you're being called to live. Nature is constantly showing us how to live with courage. Fall comes every year and encourages the trees to loosen their grip, to allow what once was so full of life to fall away leaf by leaf. For a moment, it feels like nothing will grow again. The branches are left bare without the comfort of what once was. But in the morn of spring, new shoots begin to appear, and something new is born that is even more glorious than before. What a powerful, powerful message. Sometimes we are not in the flow of life. The yin and the yang, that sacred flow is being blocked, disrupted, or you're trying to control it. And just as the analogy of fall into spring, imagine the trees taking a deep breath throughout the seasons. In spring, it takes a deep inhale into the summer. And in the fall, when the leaves fall away, there's a big exhale. And Mother Earth follows this deep cycle, as above, so below. As it is with our own very breath, so it is with nature, the laws of Gaia. How can you be in tune with this natural cycle? How can you accept the winter, the death, the falling away? That is natural. How can you accept your shadow self? And in this transience, you see that everything falls away. And once you put yourself into the natural rhythm, you'll see that this isn't some great leap into the abyss, which it may feel like that to you, but it's actually you crossing one threshold to the other in the infinite cycle of yin and yang. And then you're in flow. So, have faith. Deepen yourself in the present moment into meditation, mindfulness, yoga. And less doing, more being, mindfully. Drinking your coffee. Just being present, playing with your kids. Just being deeply present. Deeply spacious, internally, even if you can't have that externally right now. What a beautiful reading. Keep that loving compassion. And whatever steps you take, do it from the heart. Amen to that, Spirit. All right. So in love and light, have a beautiful, blessed day. Welcome, my beautiful Amazonites, to your reading. The Six of Swords is about the embarking on a spiritual journey. And after stepping into a new belief about yourself, adopting a new thought system, a way of perceiving the world, you've made a conscious decision to leave something behind. An old job, an old relationship, and this change, this leaving behind, may have something to do with you have changed the way you think about things, the way that you process something, has changed your values in some way, how you approach a problem. So because of an integration, you're choosing to leave comfort in search of something deeper to who you are. And it's interesting that the Six of Swords and the Lovers cards came together, because in these figures, we have the mother, father, and the inner child. So there's an integrated, I'm getting the sense that you're on an evolution where you're seeing the different parts of yourself, and then there is a holy union that's happening. And this goes from father, mother, child to the divine feminine, the divine masculine, and your higher self, unified self. And I believe that this is Archangel Raphael, if that resonates with you. So you could look up what he may resonate, what messages he may have. So the integration process takes time of different sides of who you are. And in the judgment reversed, sometimes when we're stuck in the linear realm, we think that if we lose something, we let go of something, it's gone forever. But you're leaving. There's like a call for transcending a thought system further to happen. Use this new way of thinking, new initiative, new embarkation, starting of something to resurrect a side of you, resurrect a lost side of you, the spiritual side of you, the side that never dies. Invoke that spirit into the dimensions of who you are. The Judgment card is a very spiritually oriented card, and you see that this Red Cross flag is a sign of the Knights Templars. And one of their rites was to take a hallucinogenic after preparation, go into a sarcophagus, go on a spirit journey, and to return. Their mentor, their guide will lead them to another aspect of a sacred chamber, and you'll see the sunrise or planetary alignment. And this rite is done during sacred parts of the year. So even though you are on this journey, you might think, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to make these changes, I'm responsible for changing my thoughts. That's all true. And in this resurrection of who you are, resurrection of a relationship, resurrection of reinterpreting something that's more eternal in a relationship. And I'm getting the sense like this can be either you sides of yourself, or it can be an actual family for some of you. That after certain strife, after communication, after connecting, recentering on what you have in common, something more eternal will arise out of that relationship. And you see that there's these two angels. That's not usual, and there's a guidance, a heralding, a calling. So as you alchemize, integrate the different dimensions of who you are, don't forget to bring in spirit. And if some of you have been afraid to show yourself, to be seen, Judgment card can sometimes signify a call to be a teacher, call to lift your voice. And this may not be you. You might be the one heralding sound, trumpeting, inviting, unifying the collective in some way. So death is not the end of the all. The Judgment card also represents the transmigration of the soul. That when we're too zoomed into the earthly plane, you think of things linearly. You do something and then it ends. But there's something deeper, and that is of the spiritual dimension. The Queen of Cups, reverse. So in this integration process, you cannot ignore feeling. And people don't realize that feeling is the access point to different dimensions. And this isn't transient feelings like I'm in the mood to do this. I'm sad because this happened. Now I'm not sad anymore. It's entering the well of your intuition. You see in this figure that the queen is holding a seashell as a child. There's a sacred ibis, a lotus. In this mystical, emotional world, in the underwater, the subconsciousness, you're going to get a force that balances just the mental. So in the change in thought process, any sort of transition you're going through, it may be forced externally or initiated by yourself internally. But it starts with thought, your internal world. And then you have to incorporate that change, really feel that change in the body. Feel it. Even when you set intentions. It's one thing to set intentions or make affirmations just in thought, just in words, but you have to feel those energies. And then those energies touches down on this plane in the physical form, integrated. And the Queen of Cups. So if you, some of you may not like feeling and Judgment card. These people are in water. So the resurrection taking place, the retrieval of your soul, is deeply related to water, our emotions, intuition, subconscious. And I'm seeing the Lovers card also can represent a relationship. Some of you might be meeting a like-minded partner. God women, find God men. So in this integration, something outside of you will reflect this integration as well. And if you're looking for a relationship, this can have to do with you needing to let fall away, Judgment reverse. Sometimes being tied to a judgment, a opinion about something, an interpretation of something. It could be a judgment about your past relationship, past family dynamic. Sometimes you don't realize that you're affirming something through judging something. So for some of you, this reading is a call to let that go. Let the swords that have taken root on your vessel, your boat, to let something go. Thoughts, judgments go from a past relationship, your family, and we all know that has to do what your partner is, the habits dynamic that manifests is perpetuated by what you internalize from your family dynamic. And your relationship with your partner does not escape that dynamic. So what do you need to integrate? What thoughts you need to release? What judgments towards yourself or a situation do you need to release so that you can have healthier relationships in the future. And you do that by integrating an internal relationship with yourself. And if you try to, and I've been there in the past, if you try to jump to having a partner without integrating a part of yourself, it usually just doesn't work out, because at one point or another, your negative habits happen, you self-sabotage, or you bring upon the very situations, that unintegrated situations that you were trying to avoid in the first place. We have the Priestess card for your Oracle card. How are you being called to step up and lead? So let's see what messages the Priestess has for us. The Priestess is a teacher dedicated to service, freedom, and leadership. You don't need to have it all together to lead. In fact, it helps if you don't. No one wants a perfect angel who hasn't made any mistakes. Let your life be your message. Don't underestimate the power of sharing your story. It's by hearing someone else's journey that we feel less alone. We realize that we're actually all in this thing called life together. The difference between a follower and a leader is that a leader has a courage to go first. In stepping out, they shine a light on the path for others to venture forward too. Don't fret too much about trying to work out who is your tribe. Don't get stuck in age, income, hobbies, or occupation. The best way to discover your tribe is to look in the mirror. If you feel called to lead, chances are it is because at some point in your life you long for someone to lead you. Your tribe is longing for exactly the same thing as you are, and might not be one step behind you. Hell, they may even be right alongside you. You don't need anyone's permission, just the courage to stand up. Embrace your struggles, the peaks, the troughs. You don't need to know the way. Just believe that there might be a different one. Your tribe is waiting for you. Step forward so they can find you. Step forward so they can find you. So, the message I'm getting is, how can you be unapologetically honest about yourself, your perception, relationships, your desires as you embark on this journey? As you're releasing, letting go. It's sort of like in the core of this Queen of Cups, the great diamond of our soul. What do we want to shine through? And it's really difficult to be a great teacher if you don't have authenticity. It's hard to connect with others when you don't have a connection with yourself. And sometimes there's a connotation to celibacy or being alone as a priestess, historical connotation, but step into your own power so that your identity does not get lost in any sort of relationship or when you enter a group dynamic or you find your tribe. So instead of getting lost in the mix in this journey, through going on the journey of the heart, your emotions, your true desires, through waking up a part of yourself that may have had to be retrieved from the underworld, your inner child, a wounded side of yourself, you'll have a voice to contribute to the relationship. Or in the tribe setting, it's like you'll have a voice in the choir. Find your own voice. And don't be afraid to use that voice in your own healing and perhaps the healing of others. So, I hope you found this reading helpful. In love and light, I bless you. Have a beautiful day, and until next time, don't forget to shine your light brightly. Beautiful, beloved Starwalkers. Be well.